Olivia Arrezzolo is Australia's leading sleep expert. She is a sleep whisperer who is obsessed with helping people get a good night's sleep. With 15 years of experience, Olivia is a master of sleep science and has studied sleep psychology and health science. She is a regular contributor to the Today Show, Sunrise, the morning show, and she is known for her ability to dissect sleep science into easily digestible advice. Olivia Arrezzolo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Andrew. So exciting to be here.
It's taken us a while. We're here. We are in the same virtual room.
We are here, ready to rock.
Olivia, a number of our listeners are well versed in sleep hygiene, sleep basics. They may even know about chronotype. So what I'd love to start with is what can people do specific to performing at a high level? A lot of our audience are CEOs, executives, athletes, entrepreneurs. How do they use sleep as an absolute weapon to perform?
Such a big question with so many avenues to answer, but I think first and foremost, to identify it as a strategy to success is critical. You have a plan and a management strategy for all areas that you identify as valuable to success, whether that's a business plan, nutrition plan, recovery plan, exercise plan. We need a sleep plan, you need a sleep strategy, and you need to prioritize that strategy as much as you would prioritizing your nutrition or your business plan.
In your line of work, when you tell someone to do that, to have a sleep plan, it makes so much sense. You have a business plan at work, you have a plan to renovate your house. I often think about that. We spend so much money on renovating a house and we have this massive plan. And then you say to people, what's your plan for well-being? What's your plan for sleep? Do you find when you say that people are like, who is this sleep whisperer? What is this weird question you ask?
When I ask people, what's your sleep strategy? It's like I'm asking them if they've gone to the moon. It's just not, it hasn't been a consideration. But in fairness, you look at the media and how we've positioned sleep, it's really only come up in the past few years that its importance. I've been working in the space for 8 years now. And when I started educating around sleep, it was absolutely new information for most people. It was literally, I had my first sleep coaching client. So I studied psychology, sleep psychology, nutrition, and fitness. Then I started coaching in various areas, and I had a few sleep clients. And I got really good results really fast.
You'd hope so after 9 years of study, Olivia. You'd think that you'd done the front loading, right, to have the content, the communication, the context to connect with people.
You'd hope I'd have the awareness about how to help and the plans for sure. So the thing is though, I had a few sleep coaching clients, they got good results and they started telling their other friends about it. And then a lot of people were coming to me really, really quickly. And I thought that's interesting because it's not like I had been an expert in the space for, a long time. Sure, I had my studies behind me, but to actually be practicing and advising people, that was a new phase. But I asked them, I said, why are you coming to me? And they said, well, there's nobody else that can help with my sleep. I don't want it to go to a GP because they're just giving me sleeping pills. So there's no one else in the holistic preventative space that is advising like you're advising. And so I thought that's really interesting because sleep is so fundamental, and why I'm so passionate about it, not only because I could see that there was such a need in the market and such a need in our community for somebody to be a leader and to be, the voice of authority. But also when you learn the science of sleep and learn how integral it is for mental health, physical health, cognitive health, then you start to appreciate sleep is not just a pillar of health. Sleep is actually the pillar of health. It is the underlying foundation of optimal well-being. And so, reverting back to your question around how to prioritize it, first, you need to educate yourself and become aware about how is sleep actually going to help you. Because when you have that, then you will progress to actually allowing it to help you. But without the awareness of why, then there's no reason you should actually take any action.
Here's one of the main disconnects. When you're away with people, your family, friends, colleagues at a conference, what's one of the first, if not the first thing we say to people of a morning? How'd you
sleep?
How'd you sleep? It's one of the most common questions. And, oh, all right, good. So we spend all this time thinking about it, talking about it. Let me look at some of the research that backs up why you were going to be very, very busy as your business expands, Olivia. The Sleep Health Foundation, SHF, and the Australasian Sleep Association, the ASA, love a good acronym, report that 4 out of every 10 Australians are not getting enough sleep. The direct financial cost of this inadequate sleep is currently estimated to be, drum roll, $26.2 billion annually, including productivity losses of $17.9 billion. Oh my goodness. Like, you look at the financial implications on that. We've still got some people interested saying, I'm going to make more money and have better sex. So why do people struggle so much with sleep? We talk about it all the time. We know the impacts it has on us. What's the number one or number two missing links for people, especially who are either watching this podcast on YouTube or listening on their headphones? What's the missing link? Like, we know this, we hear about this. Why aren't we doing this?
In my humble opinion, I feel like most people don't understand how easy it is to improve sleep. They think that in order to sleep better, you have to have no phones for hours before bed. You need to give up alcohol. You need to completely disconnect from technology. It's just not the case. And also, I honestly believe that most people think that because they have a busy, stressful life, this means that by default, sleep will be bad, and that the only way that you will improve sleep is if you have no stress.
I'm smiling because I can't count how many times, dozens and dozens of times over the past 2 decades while I've been teaching, coaching, performance, well-being, psychology, neuroscience, I get that disconnect all the time. That's why I was smiling, just to reinforce. I hear that all the time. It's this hustle society. And I blame people like Gary Vee. Look, I love Gary Vee as far as an entrepreneur, but I hear him then say, hope he's changed, yeah, you got to hustle for 10 years and go without sleep. And so you got this whole bunch of young entrepreneurs flogging themselves, looking horrible because they're on this hustle, and then they burn out. And then what's the point?
Right. And, we think that we can catch up on sleep, but it is just not the case. There's been research which has found 14 nights of having 6 hours of sleep, which is something that a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of startups, a lot of founders, they're putting themselves through, thinking 6 hours, not too bad, it's 6 hours, right? That over 14 nights consecutively found to have the same cognitive impairments as having 2 all-nighters.
Okay, so I've seen research before showing that if you miss a couple of nights sleep, it's like being 0.05, but now you're saying the cumulative effects of that is like 2 all-nighters. I can't remember when I had 1 all-nighter, let alone 2 back-to-back. I think in the executive and corporate programs I teach, 7 hours is a lot for the average participant. Anything above 8 hours sounds a lot, but are you saying, have we just lost total connection with our natural sleep-wake cycles because of light, because of mobile phones, because of the way we work, because of the global connectivity?
Correct. And because we feel that if we are busy, productive humans, then we simply do not have the capacity to get enough sleep. And I think, with that in mind, for all of your audience who is maybe thinking that, just a little less sleep, what does it really mean? I just want to share with you some really interesting facts particularly about high performance and performing and sleep. Sleeping under 6 hours a night for 2 weeks increases your risk of burnout by 3 times. Founders averaging 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night are 2.4 times more likely to achieve a successful business exit. Sleeping 7.5 to 9 hours of REM-rich sleep increases your creativity by 33% the next day. And as we mentioned before, 5 nights of under 6 hours of sleep per night will reduce your sales performance by 15%. So when you consider the value of sleep, it's very important to consider those metrics. They've been found in clinical studies, in peer-reviewed publications with professionals, scientists behind them. And sleep is not only a priority, but sleep is a weapon that if you use it right, you are one of the few that uses it right, and you will have a competitive edge over those who are not appreciating sleep like you do.
The statistics are compelling, both the reasons why you should sleep and what happens to you when you don't sleep enough. All your research, all your experience coaching, teaching, TV, media, if there was one tip, and I know I'm putting the pressure on you, can feel the heat glowing, all right, he's asked me the one tip, what would be the number one strategy, habit, tactic people can do to improve their sleep? Because when I hear that range, 7 to 9 hours, N equals 1 for me, I'm like you, I'm a morning person, I'm up at in the 5s. If I get 7 hours, I feel awesome. I can survive on 6, but I'm probably running sleep deprived, and a lot of those factors I need to listen back. So I'm more on the lighter side. I still think though 8.5, 9 hours sounds a lot for people to fit in with a life, with kids, to exercise.
For sure. Which is why it is so important to optimize your sleep quality. So aim to deepening your sleep, achieving more REM sleep, achieving more deep slow wave sleep. So then even if you can't sleep 8 or 9 hours, you will still get the rejuvenation benefits that you want from sleep. Now, how would you achieve that? You would have a proper bedtime routine. And, in terms of the one thing I would recommend, that is within your bedtime routine. If there was literally just one single thing that you could do to improve your sleep and to get the performance gains that you want from sleep, it would be very, very simple. I'm sorry, there's no sleep technology here. There's no tracking. It's a simple, easy, achievable step for everyone. And it is simply sleep with your phone in another room. The amount of people that say to me, I wake up at 3 a.m. and then I check the time and then I stress out because I realize that I've only got X amount of time left to sleep. And I say to them, what if you didn't have your phone next to you? That in itself can lower anxiety. But also when you are falling asleep, and I know this from personal experience, do you know how easy it is to scroll on your phone when it's right next to you? But do you know how hard it is when it's not next to you? You also have to consider that when you've been awake all day, over time, this leads to cognitive deficits simply by being awake. So there was a research paper that found when you have been awake for 17 hours, you have the cognitive capacity equivalent to somebody with a blood alcohol level of 0.05. So that is as in you are somewhat drunk. Think about the decisions you make when you're drunk.
I've made some really bad decisions when I'm drunk, Olivia. We don't have enough time to go there.
Right? You get that kebab on the way home, even when you're, shredding. You have that other drink. You fight with your partner. So you're relying on your willpower to make a smart decision when you're laying in bed to have just one more scroll opposed to 10 more scrolls. You're relying on that willpower when you have the cognitive capacity of somebody who is drunk. Just like a little kid, take temptation away. Create the conditions that it's easy for you to sleep well. Think about how we do that with our exercise. We know that the most likely time we are going to exercise is first thing in the morning because it's before we're distracted with kids, it's before we're distracted with work, before we get over the idea of exercising, we want to go home and, have a wine after work, right? So people, and this is clinically found, people who exercise in the morning are more likely to be consistent and more likely to get it done. So most people, if they're really serious about exercise and they know it's beneficial for their health, will say, great, well, that's the first priority of my day. I will get up and exercise because it is beneficial for X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to lock that in, right? That's a condition for success. Just like putting your phone in another room is a condition for success.
Yesterday, at time of recording, we had a workshop. It's with a global trading firm. We're just working the rollout on the sequencing with 200 people in Australia to start with and then going abroad. And there's 4 workshops, 1 a week for a month, and then it's online and support after that. So it's a real behaviour and education change around getting the right psychological, emotional, physical state to when the market comes on in Australia at 10 a.m. to be in the slot. But then also how to pulse during that, because often when the market's going crazy, you can't go and take a brain break. We know I'll trade in rhythms 90 to 120 minutes and then I say bounce the ball like you do in tennis for 20 seconds between games. Or for a person, 5 or 10 minutes, down, regulate, go again. You can't do that when the markets are going gangbusters and crazy. One of the modules, we talk about energy. So energy and that whole stress recovery balance. We're actually giving them an alarm clock. And I made the joke yesterday, I should get branded alarm clocks. I think I have done more, but maybe not you, but second in Australia, around getting people to buy alarm clocks. Because for programs, Olivia, for the past 20 plus years, I have said to people, the best thing you can do is buy an alarm clock. In fact, when I was in Tasmania 20 plus years ago, we would buy alarm clocks. So it's all come back. So we've got this global organisation literally buying 200 alarm clocks. They're seeing if they can get them branded with their company logo. And I love you saying that the number one thing you can do is just get your freaking mobile phone out of the bedroom and get an alarm clock.
Getting an alarm clock, sleeping with your phone in another room is such an easy, achievable step for everyone. It helps you sleep through the night because if you do wake up, you're not tempted to check your phone and then get anxious and then check the notifications that have come through the night. 2, you're not relying on it to fall asleep, and it's then causing a sleep debt by keeping you on your phone instead of being asleep. And as soon as you wake up, you don't check it, which is one of the worst things you can do for anxiety and stress, and contributes to greater levels of cortisol, that awakening hormone that makes you feel really anxious.
Get your mobile phones and technology out of your bedrooms, ladies and gentlemen. Get an alarm clock. And if you do wake up in your bed, don't look at your mobile phone, and you're not going to if it's in a room adjoining you. So can we take that into talking about waking up in somebody else's bed? Now, some of our audience is going, oh, what's he talking about? I want to talk about sleep tourism. I spend a lot of time outside of my bed in beds in hotels with sporting teams. And when I'm delivering keynotes, there's 3 periods during the year, you know this, as a speaker, where you ramp up and you spend a lot of time planes, trains, hotels and accommodation. As a father of 4, I actually like staying in a hotel because I sometimes get better sleep. We'll come back to that. But an article in 2024, a survey by GWI Sleep Initiative and Sir Simmons Hospitality Bedding showed 91% of frequent travellers are willing to pay up to 10% more for sleep-enhancing accommodation. You have done a lot of work with leading luxury hotels over the past few years. We'll leave the brand names, but they are the big hotels you see on the advertisements. And I love some of the process you do around this. So I reckon you've got one of the best jobs in the world. How did you get involved with these luxury hotels around sleep tourism?
So sleep tourism just takes all of the advice that I share for an individual, but puts it in a curated environment that makes it easy for people to get their best night's sleep. So my recommendations around bedtime routine, around eat well, sleep well, recommendations around, having your phones in another space or a lockbox, for example, in a environment like a hotel room, we can actually create that experience. And so I partnered with leading luxury hotels to give you your best night's sleep. And based on 2024 research that found that the number one reason travelers were taking vacation was for rest and recovery, it's very humbling to know that there's such an interest in it. There's also been, a 60% increase in Google searches year on year for sleep retreats. So people are wanting this improved rest and recovery opportunities. So to, partner alongside these global brands, global hotels that can not only provide, amazing beds and, amazing surrounds, but, lean on my expertise. That's really exciting, and I'm really grateful.
And you light up when you talk about it. And I was wondering about that because hotels for me is predominantly work. It's with sporting teams or it's with conferences and a little bit personal. But that's interesting for so many people. They go to a hotel to have a better sleep and to chill. I get that in the boring, sometimes maniacal, monotonous. I'm not sounding like I'm really promoting normal life for people, but life can become press, repeat, press, play, repeat. So I can really see going to a hotel. It's that pattern shift, isn't it? You go to a different environment. It's cool being in a hotel. I love hotel beds. It feels like you're away. It feels different. Let me go through for our audience some of what you've done on your sleep programs. Room set up for sleep, plush cushions, freshly cut lavender in the room, low lighting, lavender tea on arrival. So there's a real kick on lavender and sleep. TV covered to remove tech temptation. Dinner to support sleep. Things like fable, dumplings, buckwheat noodles and mushroom broth. Do you eat that, Wiz, when you go away? Wiz is just shaking his head saying, what are you on about? Sound bath with a field of sound, breath work and some light stretching. A bedtime routine with the Body Shop sleep range, which is a lukewarm bath or shower. Body wash and moisturising balm. Pillow mist, essential oils. This sounds like you're going to Golden Door or Gwingana. Essential oils applied to pulse points, reading before bed, getting off your technology, eye mask, lights out, and then of a morning breathwork session to wake up the engine. Oh, sounds so relaxing and beautiful doing that.
That was a wonderful experience for all involved, and, continuing to deliver similar experiences, focusing on making sleep accessible and achievable, and really simplifying how to achieve it by just providing the conditions, by putting the lavender in the room, by having, the mini bar converted to a wellness bar, by having a sleep kit on the bed, which has my book and, a simple bedtime routine, by having an audio guide, which has my bedtime meditation ready for people to play in their bedroom, really simple shifts, by having, a blue light free night light in that sleep kit, an eye mask, really easy, achievable things for any hotel to lean into. But what it actually does for their guests is phenomenal. It allows them to get the rest and recovery that they want without them having to ask for it or think about it. They are not the experts in the space. All they want is a good night's sleep. And so if you're a leading hotel and you want to provide that, these are some of the easiest ways that you can deliver that, but also supporting that with expert education so that there's an understanding, okay, well, what is this chamomile tea? What is it doing for me? And what is the lavender? And what's about this blue light, free light? When you partner tools with evidence-based education, key to success.
It's clever for the hotels as a point of difference. It's a clever business model for you. And it's clever. I'm looking at this now from a coaching psychology and behaviour change perspective. To break the cycle where you're in the same bed next to the same person, in the same house, in the same wardrobe, and sometimes the same habits that lead to sleep deprivation and fatigue and all those alarming stats you spoke about. When you go to a new environment, you can go, hey, here it is for me. I know now what to do, that whole sleep countdown. You really get ready for a good night's sleep of the morning, getting out, moving, get some sunshine, push caffeine back, relax a bit during the day. But then that beautiful sleep countdown you're doing, I'm going to try this. As we're talking about the month coming up, I've got quite a lot of travel. My sleep hygiene is okay, not great. So I'm going to take what you've said and maybe look at a little pack, at least get the behaviours in a little toolkit. So for our audience to join me on this little sleep challenge or sleep quest, if I'm going to get a pack and take with me, What's in it? So I've got some chamomile tea, if you don't have that in the hotel, which they often do. You want some lavender. I've got a lavender. It's not an eye mask. It's a beanbag socket thing at home.
Yeah, I'd probably recommend more of an intense lavender infusion. So like lavender drops or a pillow spray infused with high quality lavender.
Okay. My partner had a lot of this a few years ago and I laughed at her. I'm sorry, Tony. I should have listened to you. So chamomile, we'll get some lavender drops or pillow spray.
Yeah. Definitely having some blue light free lights. So easy night lights like you would use in the kids' room. Have one of those in your sleep kit. Some blue light blocking glasses.
So just on the blue light blocking glasses, because one thing, gosh, I've taught for years is a 30-minute rule. The first 30 minutes, and this totally changes your physiology, which changes your psychology and changes every other ology. But if you can wake up and be a normal human being, not a human doing or a human texting for the first 30 minutes, not on your technology, it does wonders. Now for CEOs or traders or people working in global teams, I allow them to have a little check, make sure there's no crisis, and then switch into relaxing. And the last 30 minutes, get off your mobile phone. Does that align with your theory? Do you still think, like you can obviously use blue light blocking glasses, don't have bright light. Do you allow people to look at a mobile? Is there a protocol time to get off your tech?
It's funny, it's actually super aligned with yours. So 30 minutes before you disappear from the world, that's when you want to have tech-free time. That window has been found to be the most powerful to predict if you will wake through the night. And if you are using your phone in the last 30 minutes, you are 62% more likely to wake up. Now, waking up through the night.
Wake up during the night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Waking up through the night is the number one problem that I hear, particularly for high performance professionals, corporates. So for the number one problem, to reduce your likelihood of waking up by 66%. That's huge. You know, when you also look at the profile of cortisol, our awakening hormone, that can contribute to anxiety, also can delay sleep, that is directly increased by using social media, by looking at screens, and by using laptops. So to avoid that increase in cortisol that will naturally happen simply by being exposed by a screen, absolutely essential. We talk about getting the deepest quality sleep that we can. And this is especially important for those who don't necessarily have 8 or 9 hours to sleep. Then to cut out technology 30 minutes before bed is one of the easiest ways that you help your body go into deeper sleep faster. So you wake up feeling more refreshed and you spend longer in slow wave sleep and REM sleep.
And from an N equals 1 point of view, myself, when I do that, I feel so much better. And N equals thousands from feedback, and in programs we use every wearable device we can align the 5 metrics that we talk about, Dr. Tom Buckley and I, on wearable tech, as long as you're getting heart rate variability, sleep time, I'll come back to sleep, exercise minutes and daily steps. They're the 5 metrics we look at. On sleep, through Dr. Tom, who's Associate Professor at Sydney Uni, has narrowed down, we're looking at deep wave sleep, so 90 minutes of that deep wave sleep, so totally aligned. So let's look at our sleep kit, and we'll put this on the show notes. Some chamomile tea, some lavender drops or a pillow spray. We'll have some blue light blocking glasses, and then some of the behaviours, dim the lights and then go 30 minutes tech-free. So there's 5 habits. If our audience can do those 5, it'll be a game changer.
I can add some more if I can.
Let's go 7. I like odd numbers.
Definitely an eye mask. It's a really simple one, but really important because it literally cuts out the world from your sleep time and just reinforces that you are in your Zen zone. And the last one would definitely be a stealth stack of sleep supplements, natural sleep supplements. I'm talking about magnesium glycinate, talking about ashwagandha, L-theanine, chamomile and lavender are also available in, supplement form. And then even some of the natural formulas like hops and passion flower, lion's mane, reishi mushrooms, they all have phenomenal evidence around their benefits for sleep and need to be part of your nightly routine. Now, this is especially important for high performers who are, under a lot of stress, because you're going to find that unless you have these supplements, you're probably going to be out of balance. And in terms of, out of balance, I mean, your nervous system will be out of balance, and that's going to be evident in difficulty sleeping. So I see natural sleep supplements like this an opportunity to rebalance a really stressful life, which we all have.
I guarantee if people do that, if they take that on holidays, it'll be a game changer. Then they can reverse engineer that and bring it home.
Correct. But I think while it's ideal to start on holidays, it's also important to know that you don't have to go on holiday to start that. You can start that as soon as you hear this podcast and you think, you know what? I want to get those performance gains that sleep offers me. I want the strategy to success, and that will be my strategy to success.
I notice you didn't mention a supplement that starts with the number M, melatonin. Before we started this podcast, I said, can I talk to you about melatonin? And you lit up. And I said, okay, let's save it. So can we talk about sleep myths? So first of all, we'll lead with melatonin. And I'd love to also talk about, can you catch up with sleep? So melatonin, a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, Olivia, was taking 1 milligram of melatonin recently because the doctor gave it to her. It was a non-prescription for low-level melatonin production to help get back into a rhythm routine. I know a lot of people do this. What are your thoughts?
1 milligram of melatonin is completely okay. However, most people won't just have 1 milligram. Majority of people will have 2 milligrams, 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams. The body naturally produces about 3 milligrams. And so anything below that dose in clinical research has been shown to be accommodating and not, damaging to long-term health. But when you're going upwards of that 3 milligrams per night, 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, this can actually alter your natural melatonin production. This can exacerbate fatigue the next day, and it can contribute to greater daytime fatigue. So if the question is, would I recommend melatonin as part of your nightly routine? No, I would not. Why? Because it hasn't been around long enough for researchers to really conclude if it is or is not problematic long term. At the moment, the research says that it should be okay. But should be is not 100%. And when you also look at the impact of melatonin use in children who are developing, there's actually a lot of evidence to say that it's damaging. It delays puberty. It can impair the natural melatonin production. It can lead to dependence and tolerance. And so if it's not safe to give to your children, then it shouldn't be safe for you as well.
Plus, a child's physiology is nowhere near developed. So it alarms me to think that we're giving kids melatonin because of sleep problems. And so much of the sleep prescription, medication, natural or prescription, is all around, okay, this is going to be the panacea to get you to sleep, but it doesn't change behaviours. That's the thing that worries me. Take the tablet, go to sleep. I can still have the shitty behaviour. I don't have Olivia's wonderful sleep pack with 7 items. I'm just relying on an external or an exogenous substance. That's not going to change your behaviour. That's not going to change your health upstream.
Correct. And, that would be akin to, taking a appetite suppressant to lose weight. The thing is that melatonin is produced by the body naturally when you provided the conditions that allow it to produce it naturally. That is blocking out blue light in the evening and exposing yourself to natural sunlight in the morning. Those 2 factors help regulate our circadian rhythm, help regulate our sleep-wake hormones, including melatonin. And if you want the way to improve your sleep that does not come with a warning or a side effect or potential dangers, then to avoid melatonin is 100% the way to go.
As a father, I know if my kids get outside and run of a morning and they get some sunshine and some play, and if you get them off the technology, the worst thing you can do is give them an iPad or a mobile in bed and start watching the Wiggles or Dorothy or whatever they're watching these days, Gabby's Dollhouse. We do it for young kids, and I often say this to parents, and they're like, oh, God, yeah, it's an uppercut, a metaphorical uppercut, because we wind our kids down. You know, they have their dinner and then they'll have a bath and brush their little toothy pegs and read a book, and we dim the lights and we put on music and we create this beautiful environment without giving them a sleep pack, and then we totally stuff it up as adults. So that makes total sense. But you were saying if it's jet lag or someone's really readjusting, could be from kids or hospital or travel, maybe 1 milligram a little bit. Would you say that's okay? Yeah, you're nodding.
Periodically use.
Got it. Now, this next question is for a very good friend of mine who looks very similar to me. Let's say he has a very similar career to me. Let's say, Olivia, it is me. 3 times a year on the conference keynote circuit, I get freaking busy. It's February into March. It's May into June, and the busiest time of the year is definitely October, bleeding a couple of weeks either side. May this year was the busiest month I've ever had in the first 4 weeks of term 2. All my whole life is based on terms. So the first 4 weeks of term 2, so that's effectively May, I did 22 presentations in that 4 weeks, went around Australia 3.5 times. Yeah, it was a big period. At the end of that 4th week, I was very technical term. I was a cactus. And I wasn't getting the sleep, and because there was a lot of travel involved, and plus juggling, running a business and a couple of mental skills programs with teams, and it was busy. I felt if I'd gone into that 5th week, I would have imploded, and I'd be in a room like this podcast studio with padded white walls. So I was running on fumes. What wasn't? What would have I been? 50%. Yeah, so I definitely wasn't getting enough sleep. Lots of travel. I always used to think I could just catch up. So you have a busy month like that and you can just catch up. Myth busted, or can you catch up?
Sorry, you cannot catch up on sleep. The impact occurs over one night. So what the research actually shows is even when you have 2 nights of 100% sleep, so let's just say you have 9 hours of sleep a night for 2 nights, just like you might on the weekend, to catch up on the deficits that have been created through the week. When they've tested the impact of this in clinical research, you only catch up 20% of the cognitive deficits. Now, that's if you're sleeping for 5 hours a night for 5 nights, which most people, very normal throughout the week. You're going to bed, late, you're waking up early, you're getting it done. And you're thinking, yeah, no worries, I'll just catch up on the weekend. No, you only rebound 20%. The other 80% is lost.
So it's making you dumber. Poor sleep is making you dumber.
Correct. You experience the cognitive impairments to your thinking skills, your processing times, your reaction times, your creative skills. You can't do problem solving, you can't make rational decisions, and you can't think quickly. That is the impact of lack of sleep. And even if you catch up on the weekend, you will only regain 20% of what you usually would have.
In that 4th week, thinking back, I still delivered. So I delivered the presentations I had to. I had a couple of coaching sessions. There was one media appearance and a few sales meetings. But in between, when you've got that energy and spark, you do the extras. I'll write the report now. I'll do the follow-up from the sales meeting. I'll send those extra resources to the coaching client, to the participants. I did none of that. I reckon I spent then a day, at least the following week, playing catch-up. So while you think you're getting by, your productivity is actually really poor, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. The research also shows that we think we are performing normally, but actually we are performing 200% worse in terms of our cognitive performance. And exactly as you've said, you won't detect it. You will think you are behaving normally. You will think you're being productive and doing well.
So myth busters. Myth number 1 we've busted is melatonin out. Myth number 2, you can't catch up on lost sleep. Is there a third myth? One of the most popular myths?
I think it rolled into melatonin. It's that melatonin is okay to give to kids. 100% no.
Pretty black and white on that one, aren't you?
Black and white. There's a lot of clinical evidence around that. And, knowing how many parents are unknowingly harming their kids every single night by giving them melatonin, this for me is genuinely alarming because the kids don't have the power to say no. You as a parent have a responsibility to care for your child. And so you then also have a responsibility to find out, is melatonin actually safe? And the research shows that it's not for kids long term. No, it's not.
In preparation for this podcast, I'm going to finish with the flip, and then we're going to let people know where they can find you, follow you, do your wonderful programs, read your books. The flip is, in preparation for this discussion, is there a question you thought I would ask that I haven't? Or the flip, is there a question you would like to ask me?
I'd love to ask you one question, yes. Your biggest piece of advice for a scaling entrepreneur who is me? And probably many of your listeners as well.
We have a few entrepreneurs. My biggest piece of advice, you're going to have to go a little bit more than that because it's specific to what? And I'm excited by this question. And Wiz, you might have to give me a timeline because I could riff on this one for hours.
If there's one thing that you want me to remember every morning when I'm waking up, as an entrepreneur who is scaling my business, I have big goals, I'm putting together a team. What is something that I keep in the back of my head throughout that process?
I'm going to give you 3. I told you before, I like odd numbers. If I ever write anything with 2, my team go, are you all right? Like, it's not 4 steps, 6 steps, 8 steps. I've thrown out the odd 10 and not twitched, but it's always 3, 5, 7. Yeah, big discussion. Let me give you 3 things to narrow down to. Number 1, stay energized and passionate. So look after, and you do that, right? You're a sleep expert, but what can happen as you're scaling? So for context, people listening, what they didn't hear before we went live, you've employed an EA, it's exciting, you've got all this opportunity, you're growing your business. Come down to, though, number 1, it's your energy and your passion. Those 2 are just inextricably linked. When you are passionate, energy is contagious. Yeah. Number 2 is specialize and do what you do best. Yeah, don't try and be everything to everyone. So I zoom out for you and other entrepreneurs and go, what do I do best? So my example, what do I do best? Well, what do I do well? I'm good at sales and connecting with people. I'm good at presenting and stuff and writing and stuff. So the creative content. I'm good at building a team and putting it together. I think I'm good at delivering mental skills and coaching. What am I not good at? I am not good at process and systems. I learn technology, but I'm not great at implementing it. I'm not good at doing finances and all the follow-up stuff. I'm not really good at putting the processes in place to start with. I'm okay at creating them. So I've put people around me who are great at doing that. So number 1 is your passion and energy. Number 2 is stick to your strengths and do what you do really well. And don't apologize on it. I think it took me a long time when I was your youthful age, I still felt like I had to apologize. If I went back now, I'd go, fuck it. Here's what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I'm going to stay energized and passionate. Number 2, this is what I do really well. Jump on the bus or get off. And if you jump on the bus, we're going to have a fun ride. And then number 3, as an entrepreneur, it's freaking tough, Olivia. If you want a easy life and lots of ups and downs that are controlled and regulated, go get a job in another organization. But the life of an entrepreneur is freaking hard, but it is so rewarding, and you've got to play the long game. So there's my summary. Stay energized and passionate, number 1. Number 2, do what you do best. So be a specialist, not a GP. And number 3 is play the long game. Because I think in entrepreneurial world, everyone wants to be Instagram, which went for a couple of years and is bought out by Facebook for 1.1 billion. Look, I'd love that. This is the 3rd business of size that I've built to try and scale or leverage or sell. And I've learned a lot in that process. But those 3 things I didn't do in the early days and almost burnt out, not once, but twice. So yeah, good question. You put me on the spot. And I told you I had to put a time limit because we could do a whole different podcast on entrepreneurism. But does that help?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's actually really interesting that you mentioned that, about the energy and the passion, because Literally, that's what I was writing about this morning. I literally wrote, I am now the leader. My role is to lead, to be the visionary and to empower others with that vision. And you can only do that when you are energetic and you're enthusiastic. So yeah, it's really interesting because I was definitely on the same page there. And yeah, playing the long game, that's also very resonates quite strongly. I know that this is the first time I've really looked to scale my business to the extent that I am now doing. And so in the past, I wasn't prepared to play the long game. So I would be frustrated, putting together a team without them, with great expectations for them to perform very quickly, not understanding how long it really takes to nurture them and have them really understand the vision and really get as excited, as enthusiastic about sleep as I am.
And so, well, you're more than just sleep. It's well-being, it's psychology, it's being the best version of yourself. Even today, as of recording in the AFR, Andrea Clark wrote an article and quoted me in some of the work I do around executives and energy, that energy management is your number one focus. And she quotes Virgin, how they've gone from being on the scrap heap 2 years later, back listing on the ASX, and they're the market darling because they've gone from being on the brink to now being a really profitable company. And Andrea was talking about energy of the leaders and the CEOs, and it's so true. So in all the leadership programs that I run, that's why I wanted to get you on and talk about this. We talk about what is energy as a leader, and sleep is one of those big pillars. So we've come back full circle, but we still come back to looking after yourself, that stress recovery balance, having a bit of fun along the way as well. If I had to add a fourth one was, every now and then drop the tools and just be young, be fun, play.
For sure.
The people who want to have more of you, to buy your book, to do your courses, or to get you to come and speak, where is the best place for them to find you?
You can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. You definitely go to my website, oliviaarezzolo.com.au. I share a lot of advice on Instagram as well. And I'm also available via email. So all of the avenues, pick your journey. I think the most easiest way, given that your community, I'm sure, is connected with you on LinkedIn, is to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Thank you for today. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I enjoyed that we've put a list together. I'm going to use that list when I'm traveling over the next month, that sleep list, and I'll report back to you to see if it has made any difference. I know it's going to.
Please do. I look forward to hearing.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.